Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I would like to thank you personally for the many ideas received through your comments. As usual, today I created a video at your request. I hope you like it and don't forget to comment and leave a like if you enjoy it. Now let's get right into it. We have already seen many firearms with terrible performance, horrific appearance, and almost no liability and accuracy. These contraptions do have some utility on the battlefield, no matter how small that utility is, just by being able to shoot a projectile with enough power to hurt an enemy without breaking after the first shot. However, there have been other guns whose extravagant design, exaggerated proportions, and almost impossible missions have turned them into nothing more than rarities without real practicality, given their complex use, danger, lack of power, or ridiculous abilities you'll never see in a shooting, hunting, or battlefield for those reasons. Today, we'll see 10 exaggerated and mostly useless firearms that perhaps you don't know of. Number 10. MOSQUETE NOCK. Developed in England during the 18th century under the name NOCK volley gun, this showy musket has 7 barrels that shot at the same time when the trigger was pulled. Briefly used by the Royal English Marine during the first battles in the Napoleonic Wars, the musket NOCK was quickly disused because the 7 simultaneous shots of .46 caliber generated a great kickback that usually ended up breaking the shooter's clavicle. Designed to be used at the beginning of boarding to eliminate multiple enemies at the same time, the NOCK tended to burn the ship's sail of enemies and allies, given the fire caused by the shot. After some years, it was completely removed from service. Number 9. Boat Shotgun. Called an English point gun, the boat shotgun was a large firearm of muzzle loader and flintlock or percussion wrench used during the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century specifically to hunt dozens of ducks with only one shot. Extremely heavy and powerful to be held by a human, boat shotguns had to be placed on top of small boats from which they were shot, pointing the entire boat towards the bird's group. However, towards 1860, these giant guns fell into disuse in most of the United States, not because of uselessness, but on the contrary, a large population of savage ducks had been eliminated because of this practice. And its size and power today are strictly regulated in the little nations that still allow it. Number 8. ARSENAL-AF 2011A1. Lacking any type of practicality or functionality for having a double barrel, this pistol 1911 AF 2011A1 is a very curious gadget to show off in the shooting field, giving its unusual aesthetics an unnecessary double barrel. Created as a concept test with the objective of showing the ability of the Arsenal Firearms Company to create such a gun, this Italian gun later had commercial success in the United States, where it was acquired by multiple civilian shooters for being an attention-catching, curious object and nothing else. Totally impractical for hunting tasks, personal defense, or competitions because of its weight, thickness, uncomfortable handling, and big kickback, the ARSENAL-AF 2011A1 is also very expensive, around $4,800 to $7,300 USD. All of this just to brag about it. Number 7. PUCKLE gun. Created in England, was one of the first firearms in history to be called a machine gun, even when its repetitive cylinder, operated by one crack, had a shot cadence average of only 9 shots per minute. Designed by the lawyer James PUCKLE in 1718, the most notorious characteristic of the PUCKLE gun was its unusual ability to shoot square ammunitions with the objective of causing an extreme level of damage and pain on the target. But this is not all. Apart from the obvious aerodynamic disadvantage this meant, the gun's patent said the squared ammunition was to be used exclusively against Turkish soldiers to show them through pain, the benefits of the Christian civilization. Fortunately, this madness never entered combat and only 2 copies were ever made. Number 6. PISTOLA con CARICATO. Of Italian origin and potentially called pistol with CARICATO, in its original design, this revolver has three 25 caliber ACP barrels that can shoot one by one or all at the same time to provide the shooter greater firepower when necessary. Fed by an 18 cartridge cylinder and manufactured during the 20th century, the pistol with CARICATO is considered an unsolved mystery because it's unknown who created it and where. It's believed that the only copy known today is the only one that exists and evidently never made it after the prototype phase. The truth is that the revolver is too big and heavy to be shot comfortably. Its cartridge is considered one of the worst, and its non-existent mass production makes us think that nobody was ever interested in its design. Number 5. KOLIBRI Pistol, a ridiculously small firearm that shot a bullet of only 2.7 millimeters in diameter. Designed by the Austrian watchmaker Franz Final, with the intention of providing the masses, at the beginning of the 20th century, with the smallest gun for concealed carry and personal defense. The KOLIBRI had a 7-cartridge magazine, and the pistol was so small that its handling was impractical and complicated, difficult to load, point, and shoot, something that was to be expected when you realize that the entire gun fits in a person's hand. To make it worse, even when the shooter was able to successfully point at the target, this pistol didn't have a rifle barrel, so the tiny bullet had a pathetic power and terrible accuracy, which quickly made the KOLIBRI a museum object. Number 4. SAWN-OFF Micro Shotgun Stoeger Coach Gun.
Oh my God!
This is an excellent shotgun whose barrels have been cut until all that was left was only the chambers. It was used during the movie Killing Them Softly in 2012. After that, this gadget became being used as a joke by multiple people online who quickly noticed the gun was practically useless unless you shot it at a 1 meter or less distance with pellet cartridges because the lack of barrel caused an extreme dispersion. However, the matter becomes more ridiculous when you try to shoot solid ammunition with it, such as 50 caliber cartridges, BMG, because they of course lose almost all of their power and start spinning in the air as soon as they're out of the gun. An interesting lesson on the large importance of long barrels in firearms. Number 3. Replica on 28mm caliber of the revolver Remington model 1859. This is a giant barrel in the shape of a revolver that was built in Poland. Its maker, Ryszard Tobes, has the Guinness record for the biggest weapon on Earth of its kind. It weighs 45 kilograms and is 1.26 meters long. This giant revolver is unique. Only one copy has been made so far, which design and construction took its maker 2,500 working hours to finally be shot for the first time in 2002. It shoots spheric bullets of 136 grams each, which despite not being pushed at really high speeds, are able to provide a good punch to any target. Naturally, the gun doesn't have any practical use for hunting, sport, or combat. The only reason it exists is to show off the Guinness record. Number 2. Nuclear Cannon Davy Crockett. It was developed by the United States at the end of the 1950s. The objective of Davy Crockett was to provide the army of that nation with a decisive advantage on land against Soviet and North Korean tanks. When shot, the O gives nuclear power with equivalent to 10 to 20 tons of TNT. Designed to turn 400 m2 land of the epicenter of the explosion into a lethal area temporarily highly radioactive. The Davy Crockett was dangerously inaccurate. It lacked an abortion option for the explosion, and its use would escalate any conflict on land to a nuclear conflict that could end up directly or indirectly in a high number of Allies' deaths. Used by the United States Army from 1961 to 1971, the Davy Crockett was never officially used in combat, although 2,100 copies were made. Number 1. Nuclear Cannon 2B1 Oka. During the Cold War, before guided missiles became a trustable means to launch nuclear bombs, the United States and the Soviet Union experimented with multiple ways of non-guided launching. However, this last nation out stood in its experiments when manufacturing giant mobile nuclear cannons such as the 2B1 Oka, which wasn't more than an artillery vehicle self-propelled, modified with a massive 420mm diameter cannon, something that is closer to the caliber of a naval armored cannon than a war tank or land artillery. However, as you can imagine, the 2B1 Oka was too powerful for its own good. Its massive kickback ended up in the total destruction of the vehicle after just one shot, which led the Soviet Union to remove it and focus on the development of guided missiles. If you liked the video, please click on the thumbs up and subscribe. Check my Instagram, Facebook, and my website.